Rediscovering Self is a podcast that addresses the daily ramblings of the mind and talks about what influences the way we think and how we can cope in an ever changing world. This podcast is brought to you by Amrutam, an Ayurvedic lifestyle brand and wellness community. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Rediscovering Self with Amrutam. I'm Preeti, your host, and I'd like to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. And I hope you've all had a beautiful day today and that this weekend is magical. As we're inching closer and closer to the end of this year, I just want to take this one moment here to tell you that it's okay to feel how you're feeling right now. Elated that this disastrous year is coming to an end, I feel you. Tired, stressed out, wondering what the new year is bringing? I feel that as well. Whatever you're feeling is perfectly valid and perfectly fine. And all of us here at Amrutam are really hoping that you're all trying to take care of your health a little bit every single day. Physical, mental, emotional, all of it. Sometimes it can really feel like something bad's just going to keep happening, right? Like even if you're happy right now, you're celebrating or someone cracked a joke and you're laughing your lungs out, there's still like this faint sense of foreboding somewhere inside you. Have you ever felt that? That maybe this laughter is temporary, maybe this happiness is temporary because something bad is going to happen. And you know what? With this year especially being the way it was, who can even blame anyone for this? Today's episode is tackling exactly this. We're going to be talking about living in constant dread or the fear of something bad happening. Joining me to talk about this is Aanchal Harjai. Aanchal is an RCI licensed clinical psychologist and a dedicated mental health professional with experience working in multiple domains. Her competencies range from providing mental health services, including initial screening, assessments, diagnosis, psychotherapeutic treatment plans, and psychoeducation. She takes individual and group therapy sessions effectively and is a member of the Indian Association of Clinical Psychologists. Aanchal is passionate about making a difference and believes in sharing knowledge and experiences to bring about healthy transformations. Aanchal, thank you so much for joining us on Rediscovering Self today. It is such a pleasure to have you here and to be talking about something that is really, really important and that tends to come up in our daily life. I'm really excited to be getting into this topic with you. So, thank you so much for being here and doing this with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me over here. And I think I'm glad to be part of a platform like this to probably go out there and to spread the awareness on specifically what mental health and that's actually required at this point of time the most.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like the thought that we are unpacking today is also something that is so relevant right now, right? Given that we're living in such an uncertain world. So, like getting right into it, today's thought that we're going to be talking about is I live in constant dread that something bad is going to happen. That feeling, in the pit of your stomach that you're just waiting for something bad to happen. Where does it come from?
Okay. I think just this thought that something bad is going to happen, I think it comes from the idea that all of us worry about something, right? And or things might go wrong, and that's actually how our life is, right? With COVID situation, this current pandemic has actually taught us, like, to be actually live in how unpredictability and uncertainty is. And the
Hmm.
reality is like the things might go wrong and like our life is actually far from perfect, but if these thoughts are constantly there in your mind, these worries that something bad might happen to you or to your loved ones or anything that might happen in the world, I think then it's like we are actually apprehending the danger which is more in our mind rather than which is a real danger out there. So these are constant apprehensions, constant worries, constant certain fears that we have in our mind, and we apprehending that since we don't know what future holds of us, so we're constantly apprehending that something bad might happen, and that these thoughts are actually something which have been inculcating or which have been ingrained in our mind because there's this constant threat. internally.
Okay, so you're saying that there are a lot of these thoughts that exist within us, but maybe in some way it's because we are also dwelling on it so much that it becomes larger than what it actually might be.
Absolutely. I think I like to call these as automatic negative thoughts or ants, right? These are automatically certain negative cognitions or negative thoughts just come to our mind when life gets challenging or we really feel overwhelmed about certain things. And perhaps these thoughts wouldn't do much damage to us, but if they're these constant, we have this constant stream of these negative thoughts um,
Hmm.
towards any particular situation you are in, and the first thought that comes to us is that maybe I would not be worthy enough, maybe don't deserve this. So these are something automatically, something negative is being tuned in your mind, right? And I like to call these ants, and they just
Hmm.
come. So it's unconsciously that's happening with you. If somebody is feeling like this, somebody is actually apprehensive about future or how things are gonna be, they unconsciously surface up and to your mind, and there's also a lot of emotional reactions and behavioral reactions
Hmm.
that are associated when we have these thoughts.
Why is it that it's so easy for us to resort to thinking or brooding so much over the negative thoughts when maybe something good is happening? Like it might even be that my current situation is a very positive one, is a happy one. But like you said, because we're living in a world where there are so many stressors, it is very easy to slip into that thought process that, something bad is going to happen immediately, even if I'm happy. Like I'm not letting myself feel happy because I think something bad will happen. So why is it so easy for us to just slip into a negative kind of a mind frame? Is it not ideally I would want to accept the goodness that I currently have rather than slide into that flow of negativity which just automatically seems to happen.
Absolutely. I'll tell you. So, what happens is at times our negative thinkings, right? It leads to, as I said, it leads to negative emotions, that leads to negative choices that we make in our lives. And it kind of
Hmm.
becomes like a negative thinking loop. So, more the negative thoughts, the more likely it is that you will be making or you will be taking the actions that lead to the life you actually want. And at times, we become so comfortable in terms of just thinking, our belief patterns actually become so comfortable that whenever something is happening, we always, the automatic reaction that comes to us, something isn't right. If things are even
Hmm.
going your way, if everything is okay, you've been so used to your beliefs, or we call it cognitive distortions. They become
Hmm.
so they actually are these core belief patterns that we have. And it comes like, it becomes very comfortable or comforting for me to just be, to think of something of that sort. So it's not a person is consciously doing it, it unconsciously comes to your surface, and because of your cognitive distortions and your core beliefs, right? So, and it kind of comforts you, because you have always been used to, you've been used to of over checking, or you've been used to of everything being out there perfect, or at times we have a low self esteem of ourselves, that even if
Hmm.
something good happens to us, we kind of think that no, there might be a question mark to it, right? So this is actually
Right.
a negative core beliefs of I am no good, I am not smart as other people, I will never win, I will be never good as he is, I will not be able to achieve this particular thing, or also this particular thing, that I always want to be perfect in everything. So because of these particular negative core beliefs, at times we start even doubting something that's happening, something good that's happening to us.
Oh my God. So you're saying that the whole feeling or that emotion of thinking that something bad is going to happen is actually linked to our very own self worth, like thoughts of inadequacy and, like these deficiencies that we see in ourselves. I think that's a really interesting insight because I wouldn't have thought, that's where it comes from. It's really new to me as well. So I feel like if I'm right over here and if I've understood this correctly, the work that needs to be done to start thinking in a more, wholesome kind of a mindset, to start getting out of this dread that we're living in, is to actually work on our own self and understand why we are feeling inadequate to begin with?
Exactly. So what happens is, most of our issues and most of our anxieties, when I say anxiety and worries, okay, or apprehensions about future, most these are all feelings, right?
Hmm.
You are feeling apprehensive about something, you're feeling anxious about something, or even if these thoughts come to you, you feel low, you feel sad, you feel uncomfortable. So all of these are the emotions.
Hmm.
And since these particular emotions stem from, I always like to say that our thoughts are always the precursors of our emotions. So at the end of the day, we need to learn to be able to regulate our emotions. And half of the job is done. We are able to regulate our emotions if we are more aware about our own thinking patterns, our own cognitive beliefs.
Hmm.
At times we resort into so futuristic thinking or so wishful thinking, mind reading, like probably we kind of have these thoughts, right, that if I do not behave in a certain way with my friend, probably he will not like me, right? This is something
Hmm.
mind reading. You don't know whether he will like you or not like you, but you are
Right.
thinking that if you don't behave in this way, your friend might not like you. So this is mind reading that we are doing. Or we are always thinking about future, right? What will happen 10 years from now, or what will happen if I take up this job. So our life is constantly about future, about what others are thinking of us.
Hmm.
So once we kind of understand what exactly our core beliefs are, and what are our perceptions about things, it kind of makes the work much more easier in terms of being able to regulate our emotions and also our behaviors.
Right. That makes so much sense. And I find that point very interesting, where you say that we need to understand our own core beliefs because ultimately that is the root of everything, right? That's where our thoughts arise from. That's where our actions arise from. That's where our behavior also comes from. So I feel like if we start working on that, maybe that is, would you say that is the first step to kind of, start moving towards getting better and understanding the self? And if so, then how does one do that, consciously understand what their beliefs are and start to, go deeper into that?
That's the first way we start with. It is very important for us to be very aware of our own thought patterns, or to be even aware of our triggers. At times, these thoughts are only triggered when we are in an uncomfortable situation. It could be during a social situation, it could be only at your work, it could be only in your relationships that you're feeling that ways. We have to kind of understand what our triggers are, and also be aware of our own thought patterns. So we kind of start doing it by maintaining a thought diary. Is like a very common approach that we use as a therapist to help clients understand what exactly their thoughts are, and what how they are reacting towards any particular situation.
A thought diary.
Yeah.
Is that something that one can start maintaining even without, if one doesn't have access to therapy? Is that something that you would recommend for everyone to do in general?
I think it's always good. So if okay, so let me tell you. So we have terms like it's a all of us worry about something, right? All of us are anxious in our everyday lives about certain things. We kind of fear certain things. But if these worries or these anxiety feelings that you've been having, if it kinds of intrudes, or it kind of interferes with your day-to-day functioning, with your personal lives, in with your professional lives, or with your social relationships, then it is important for you to actually start paying attention towards and consult a professional, a mental health professional for all these.
Hmm.
But if you kind of feel that you feel stressed out during a particular situation, and it kind of goes away while the situation is over, and it at times you kind of feel worried or apprehensive about certain things, so it's very
Hmm.
good to be aware to start off with this thought diary. So how do we do that? In this thought diary we usually write what the situation is. Okay, suppose
Hmm.
I had this thought that I am not a good person, right? Or I don't deserve to live. Why these thoughts came to us? I think most of us are not even aware about what we are thinking. We are just aware about our emotions, right? That's the first question we ask anybody. How are you?
Hmm.
Right? We don't ask, what are you thinking? So when we are for us to be doing this thought diary, for maintaining this thought diary, it is very important for us to write the situation, to write your thoughts, and to also write how you felt because you experienced these thoughts. Then I think more of an professional intervention is required to help you understand what is the core beliefs around the thought that you are having.
Hmm.
Okay, it could be the thought was just that I am not good enough, or I am not a good person because I did not achieve the grades that I wanted to achieve in my
Hmm.
standard, right? So now, so this is just a thought that I am not good enough because I did not achieve the grade. So we have to understand, we have to identify what are the core beliefs and what are the actually assumptions the person has formed because this thought is coming to their mind. So we kind of we kind of probe more on this further, that why do you think that you will only be a good person if you secure this much of percentage, right? Why is the
Hmm.
worth always associated with how much good your job is, or how many people are paying attention to you, or how many likes we have in social media, or something of that sort, right? And if that doesn't we don't get that, we kind of feel worthless.
Hmm.
Core belief is worthless. So we need to work on worthlessness with this person, rather than just being working on that I am not a good person. So it's good for people to start maintaining it, but of course I think it is better if an intervention is seeked from a mental health professional to help you understand these core beliefs.
Hmm.
Okay, and these core beliefs are actually formed in our childhood, about the past experiences that we have. And at times we're still struggling off, or we are still denying certain of the issues that happened with us, or we're just putting the things under the carpet, right?
Hmm.
Rather than facing
Hmm.
it up. So at times that also brings a lot of worries and apprehensions to us.
This is actually a recurring theme that I've seen coming out even in some of the other episodes that we've recorded. That, a lot of these beliefs are actually formed in childhood and we grow with them. So it takes so long to go back and question them because that's the only truth that we know. And, to kind of unpack that and question that and then unlearn that and then relearn what we believe to be true now is so, so difficult. And now that you've mentioned all of this, I actually see, that these core beliefs are being formed from such a young age and it's programmed in us. So for us to actually keep converting that into the kind of dread that we feel on a daily basis, it's just probably automatic. And this one tool that you mentioned, maintaining a thought diary, I feel like it's such an important thing to do. I don't know if journaling and a thought diary can be the same thing, but personally, that is something that has been working for me. But I do understand, where it gets a little out of hand, and we do understand that there has to be an intervention. Sometimes therapy is a good way to go if one has to really start unpacking those beliefs that we've held since childhood, and we see that affecting our daily life today. Like, I don't want to live thinking that something bad is going to happen tomorrow because that's all I know from before. So, in this case, I just want to understand, all of these thoughts, can they be linked to a mental health concern, like an actual one? Because it's very easy to get anxious about the future and about what's going to happen. And it's also very easy to maybe slide into a depressive episode. I just want to understand, how these could be connected, if at all.
Okay, so I think yes, as you said, all of us experience anxiety at some point in our lives. I think day to day we are experiencing anxiety. COVID entire the
Hmm.
scenario. I think we feel anxiety even in stepping out of our homes. So anxiety is healthy. Had this anxiety or fear had not been there, we would not have been wearing the mask, or we've not had been sanitizing our hands and washing our hands, right? This
Hmm.
anxiety is actually protecting us in a way. But if kind of this anxiety is manifesting in the physical symptoms, in terms of palpitations, in terms of tremors in terms of breathlessness or heaviness in the head, choking feelings, if it is manifesting in these forms of physical symptoms, or also at times because of our anxiety, because of our emotions, it also manifests in the form of pain. We have a lot of somatoform symptoms. It manifests in the form of digestive issues. People are more prone to skin issues. And so mental health condition, even your thoughts, I think you might have experienced that while we are stressed, right? Some of us experience diarrhea, we experience constipation, or there's
Hmm.
pimples that
Hmm.
are popping out of our skin. So just these thoughts can actually affect your physical health as well, and also your mental health. Since you've always been worried about these things, or it's just these thoughts, you will lose your ability to concentrate, to focus.
Hmm.
Your mind will always be just moving in different directions, and it will be, you will actually find difficulty in maintaining your focus at one particular task. We start losing our motivation if we are constantly thinking that we are not good at something, right? We It manifests in the form of sleep issues. If you're constantly worrying about something, we're constantly anxious, we're not able to fall asleep. Even if we fall asleep, I think our sleep patterns are so disturbed.
Yeah.
So these are some of the issues. So just these thoughts, they are manifesting in the form of physical symptoms also, and they're also manifesting in the psychological symptoms. People experience anxiety and depression actually at times go hand in hand. There's this
Hmm.
comorbidity of two particular psychiatric disorders in people. Because we've been so anxious about any particular thing, we start feeling depressed. So we give a proper diagnosis of major depressive disorder. Or at times, because of our anxiety, it turns into phobia or panic, right? Because we're
Hmm.
constantly thinking that things aren't going right, or something is amiss. Or it can manifest in the form of you being becoming compulsive about things. So anxiety is actually take different forms.
Right. It's I don't know how to say this, but just daily behavior, what we assume is normal, can have so much going on behind it and can have so many repercussions as well. And I feel like that is exactly why we need to be talking about mental wellness more. And I mean, it's just one thought, right? That I think something bad is going to happen, but there is so much behind it. There is a whole sense of self-worth. There is all of our beliefs that we've grown up with. There is a linkage with anxiety and depression, and like you said, so many other disorders that can actually require more attention than it's currently being given. How does one start? Like, is there a first step, to kind of stop thinking or living in dread and just start thinking about how one could possibly get better? How does one, start on that path?
So I think the very first thing is we need to chunk down our long term goals into very short term achievable goals. Why there's this constant apprehension about future is because we're always thinking about very long term goals and what will happen with us in a long term. So it is very important to just take one step at a time, actually to take baby steps, to break down your long term goal into a much more achievable smaller goals, so that you can actually work on something. So I think I like to start with SMART goals. We create SMART goals for people who have been experiencing a lot of worries about something. So for SMART stands for an acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound goals. You always have to be very specific. Suppose you want to start up your own business in next 1 year. So my smart goals would be that I create a specific goal of how I would want to, what I would want to achieve in 2 months from now. Okay, how I
Hmm.
will monitor that progress, and whether do I have those skills or requisites in order to achieve that goal that I have set for myself.
Right. So instead of getting overwhelmed with the larger goal that might seem unattainable, it just makes a lot of sense to break it down into smaller pieces that might be easier to achieve in a shorter frame of time. And that does go a long way to alleviate the anxiety that comes with having a massive goal ahead of us. So, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And I feel like it's something that, I have been trying to practice. And honestly, it's worked for me. So I think that that's a wonderful insight.
Superb. And I think also we need to, on an everyday basis, we need to make good lifestyle choices. Our eating, our sleeping patterns, our physical exercise. I think if you've been feeling a lot worried, so the first thing that you need to start with is relaxation. Now, relaxation for anybody can be in different forms. Be you do deep breathing, if you do yoga, if you do physical exercise, or you do meditation. So any form of relaxation technique, maybe just you going out for a walk, or maybe just you sitting for half an hour every day and just not thinking about anything, but just kind of introspecting, just kind of following that self-care routine. So something of this sort, a relaxation and a lifestyle change both goes hand in hand if you are working with somebody who's been experiencing extreme worries about future. Our entire lifestyle, how we've been eating also. At times I think we're just watching the television, or we're just walking and we're just gulping the food. So it is very important for us to be mindful of what you are eating,
Hmm.
what's actually there in your plate while you're eating something. Your sleeping cycle, your sleep patterns, everything kind of has to go hand in hand if we are working with somebody who's been experiencing these worries.
Absolutely. This is so helpful, just knowing that. I think just starting off with mindfulness and making lifestyle changes itself goes such a long way, because those itself are self care. And that's a wonderful thing to do, especially if we don't have access to therapy. I think this is something that is entirely in our hands and is totally doable, along with maybe maintaining the thought journal that you mentioned, and just kind of seeking help if required can go such a long way to kind of calm down the dread that we're living in, and just go back to unpacking the thoughts that have been causing all of that. Anchal, I think this has been such an eye opening discussion, just to understand so much that goes on in our mind and in our lives, and just defining our own paths. Thank you so much for taking up the time and doing this. I think this has been an excellent, excellent episode, and there is so much to take away from this one.
Thank you so much. I think this is a great opportunity for me to, through you guys, I think through this particular platform, to get out there and to spread awareness.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy that we could do this together. Thank you so much for joining us on Rediscovering Self. It's been wonderful. Thanks a lot, Anchal.
Thank you so much, everybody. Please take care of physical health and your mental health.
Yes, that is super important. As always, pearls of wisdom have turned up in this episode as well. I'm really curious to know if this podcast is helping you, so feel free to drop us a message either at Amrutam Official's Instagram handle or my Instagram handle at Peppy Travel Girl. We want this to make a difference, we want this to help, and it would mean so much to us if you could just let us know if it is. We'll be back next Friday at 8 p.m. with a very interesting topic and something that's going to hit all of us when the holidays end. I stress a lot about pending work. I think this is a relatable situation for everyone out there, so do join in on Friday at 8 pm and I will be here waiting for you. Until then, I hope you're all taking care and staying safe. This is Preeti signing off. Bye bye, take care, stay safe. Rediscovering Self is a podcast that addresses the daily ramblings of the mind and talks about what influences the way we think and how we can cope in an ever changing world. This podcast is brought to you by Amrutam, an Ayurvedic lifestyle brand and wellness community.